Quick question before we begin, and I want you to answer honestly, right now, in the comments. Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like the person looking back was not really you? Like something deeper was watching from behind the eyes? Like there was a presence in there that the mirror could not quite capture?
If you know exactly what I mean, drop it right now. And if it has happened to you, tell me below when. I read every single one. Because what you just described has a name. And today we are going to find out exactly what it is and why that quiet sense of something deeper watching may be the most important clue you have ever received about the true nature of what you are. Imagine for a moment that your entire life is running inside a vast cosmic computer. Your body is the hardware, your mind is the software, the universe is the simulation on the screen, but you are not the avatar, you are not the code, not even the machine. You are the programmer, pure awareness itself. And in this video, I want to explore how this simple metaphor reflects the deepest non-dual teachings of Advaita Vedānta, and why awakening is not about fixing your avatar, but recognizing that you were always the programmer. And let me map this out precisely, because I think the precision matters. Consciousness, or the programmer, is not inside the computer. It is the intelligence that designs and runs and can shut down any program, but is never affected by what happens on the screen. And in the same way, consciousness is not inside your skull. It is the open, aware presence in which body and mind and world appear. And it was here before the first thought of this morning, and it will be here after the last thought of tonight. And it is here right now, in this moment, as the knowing in which these words are arising. The Jīva, the individual self, what we call me, is like a particular program. It has a name and a history and preferences and fears and desires, just like an app with its own settings and data, and it feels separate from other apps, even though at the deepest level, all of them depend on the same underlying programmer, the same one consciousness expressing itself through apparently different apertures of experience. The mind-intellect-ego complex is the software, the operating system. The mind receives inputs, the intellect analyzes and decides, the ego stamps everything with mine and me, and together they create the user interface we call my experience. Much like an operating system creates a desktop with icons and windows and notifications, vivid and functional and utterly convincing, and yet not the reality behind the screen. The body, with its senses and organs of action, is the hardware. The brain is like a CPU. The senses are like cameras and microphones. The limbs are like robotic arms and motors. And without software and power, the hardware is inert, a beautifully designed instrument, but not the true owner or experiencer of anything. And the entire universe, all of space-time, all relationships and events, birth and death and everything between, is the simulation running on the screen of awareness, vivid and meaningful and consequential, and yet not the whole story of who you are. So where does suffering come from in this beautiful, intricate system? It comes from a single, very costly bug, one line of faulty code at the root of everything. And the bug is this: the app looks at the avatar, at the body and personality, and concludes, that is me, I am only this. And this is what the non-dual teachings call Avidyā, ignorance. Not as an insult, but as a precise description of mistaken identity. And from this one bug, all the error messages appear. Fear of death, because the avatar is fragile and temporary. Anxiety and comparison, because other avatars seem more beautiful or more successful or more loved. Guilt and shame, because the app believes it is the sole doer of every action, and endless striving, because the avatar never feels complete for long inside the game. And all of this, every form of suffering you have ever experienced, comes from one source, the confusion of the temporary character on the screen with the timeless programmer that animates the whole show. And before we go deeper, I want to pause here and ask you something. What is the one thought or belief about yourself that you feel is most responsible for your suffering right now? Not a general answer, your specific one. Drop it in the comments below because I genuinely want to read it. And I suspect that when you look at it honestly, it will have the shape of this bug. It will be some version of I am only this limited, fragile, separate thing. And that recognition itself is the beginning of the cure. Now think of karma as the program's stored state. Every action, every intention leaves an imprint, like writing data into a file or updating variables in the code, and these stored values shape the next moment of experience, which situations arise, which people you meet, which tendencies feel natural, and as long as the basic bug remains, I am only this separate avatar, new lines of karmic code are constantly being written, and the story becomes more intricate, and the plots thicken, and then there is Māyā, the rendering engine, the layer that makes everything in the simulation look solid and separate and self-standing. You do not see bare code, you see sunsets and traffic jams and heartbreaks and promotions and diagnoses and miracles, and Māyā hides the programmer and shows you only the rendered world so that the universe feels absolutely real and self-contained. But just as a virtual world has no existence apart from the console and the player, the universe has no independent existence apart from consciousness. It is dependently real, vivid, and consequential, and worthy of full engagement, and yet not the ultimate truth of what you are. So what is awakening in this metaphor? Awakening is not upgrading your avatar's armor, or installing better emotional management apps, or achieving a permanent bliss state inside the game. Those may be helpful relative improvements, but they stay within the frame of I am this character. Awakening is a direct shift in identity from I am this avatar in this universe to I am the programmer in whose awareness this entire universe appears. And in the language of Advaita, this is the recognition, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, the one consciousness shining as every mind and every world. What changes with this recognition? First, the avatar continues. The body still wakes and eats and loves and will eventually die. The mind still thinks. The nervous system still responds. But the tight grip around this is all I am begins to soften, and life becomes more like a lucid dream than a prison, because you are playing the game fully while knowing somewhere beneath the gameplay that you are the one playing. Second, doership and sufferership are seen differently. Actions still happen, choices still appear, causes still have effects, but they are understood as movements in the vast totality, not the burden of a separate, isolated me. And the programmer watches the entire program run with something that can only be called love, because the programmer is not separate from the characters it has created. It is expressing itself through them, knowing itself through them, playing with itself through them. Third, the cycle of rebooting is understood. When one hardware setup fails, when the body dies, the stored code may boot on another machine, what we call rebirth. But when the assumption of a separate Jīva has been seen through, there is no longer a separate me that needs to come back. There is only the programmer, which has never been born and can never die. So how do we begin to live from this understanding? First, we listen to the teachings that challenge our default setting. We hear again and again, you are not limited to your body and mind. You are the awareness in which body and mind appear. And this plants a new line of code, a new possibility in the system. Second, we inquire, who is aware of this thought, this emotion, this sensation? Does that awareness come and go? Or is it the constant background of every experience? Does awareness have a shape, a color, an age, a boundary? And when you look directly, not think about it, but look, what you find is not a thing, but an open, borderless knowing that has no beginning you can locate and no ending you can find. Third, we clarify the system through ethical living and compassion and devotion and selfless service. These do not make you the programmer. You already are the programmer. But they quiet the noise so that the truth which is already here can be more easily recognized, like clearing the screen so that the light behind it becomes visible. And fourth, we sit, not to escape the world, but to notice that the same awareness is present in every state, waking, dreaming, deep sleep, meditation. Awareness is never switched off. It is the light by which every experience, including the experience of me, is known. The point is not to reject the game. The game is beautiful. The game is the programmer's own expression, the programmer's own joy. The point is to recognize yourself as the one who is playing, not just the character being played, and then to let your avatar live and love and create and serve fully while quietly knowing in the deepest place, I am the programmer, and the rest is my beautiful, transient, luminous display. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. All of this is Brahman, Tattvam Asi, that thou art. And if this recognition landed today, even slightly, subscribe to this channel, because every week we go exactly here to the place where the oldest wisdom and the newest understanding meet. And leave a comment below telling me, if you are the programmer, what is the one program you would rewrite first? I love you all. And I want to return to that bug, that single line of faulty code, one more time, because I think it deserves more attention than we usually give it, because the bug is not a moral failing. It is not stupidity. It is not weakness. It is simply what happens when infinite consciousness takes on a finite perspective and temporarily forgets its own infinitude, the way an actor can become so absorbed in a role that for a moment they genuinely feel the character's fear, and in that absorption, that forgetting, the entire drama of human life becomes possible. Love and loss, courage and cowardice, the search for meaning, the hunger for connection, the terror of death. All of it is the programmer's own game, played with such total commitment that the programmer believes for the duration of the game that it is only the character, and the spiritual path in every tradition is simply the process of remembering, of the programmer beginning to wake up inside the game, of the character having the extraordinary, disorienting, liberating realization that they are not only the character, and this does not make the game less real, it does not make the love less real, it does not make the loss less meaningful, it makes everything more vivid, more precious, more extraordinary, because now the programmer knows it is playing, and plays with full awareness, with full presence, with full love for every other character in the game, knowing that each one is another expression of the same programmer, another window through which the same one consciousness is looking at itself, another instrument through which the infinite is knowing its own depth. And this is what Tattvam Asi means, that thou art, not you, the avatar, are the programmer, but the awareness that is reading these words, the knowing that has been here through every moment of your life, quietly, faithfully, completely. That is the programmer. That is Brahman. That is what the Upanishads have always been pointing at. And it is not somewhere else. It is not in the future. It is not the result of years of practice. It is right here, right now, as the simple, luminous fact of your own awareness, already awake, already whole, already free, already home. And so the next time you feel completely identified with your story, with success or failure, with praise or blame, with gain or loss, with the particular shape of this particular life, pause just for one breath and ask, am I only this avatar on the screen, Or am I the open, aware presence in which this entire game is appearing? You do not have to answer with certainty. You do not have to have had a dramatic awakening experience. You do not have to understand the Sanskrit or the physics. You only have to be willing to hold the question, to let it live in you, to carry it into the ordinary moments of your day, because the question itself is a doorway, and the doorway is already open, and you have been standing in it your entire life, and all that is required is to notice, to turn just slightly from the screen to the light behind it, from the movie to the awareness in which the movie plays, from the character to the programmer, which is what you have always already completely been. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma Tattvam Asi. I love you all.